Hello and welcome to Cult of the News, the show where I run down all the board, card and tabletop gaming news that caught my eyes over the past 2 weeks, and then I wrote it down and I filmed it, then I edited it. You get the drift. It's a news show about cardboard products. Heading up our barrage of news like some type of apprehensive ensign on a doomed away mission is Tellstones, The King's Gambit, a new game from Riot Games and their follow-up to the wildly successful Mechs vs Minions. Riot Games are the makers and providers of hugely popular video games like League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics and Valorant. And apparently in their world of Runeterra, everybody's playing themselves some Tellstones. But this couldn't be further away from their previous release, although I suppose it is housed in the same warehouse. In Mechs vs Minions, you were playing a massive box full of minis and maps, staving off attacks and trying not to cause too much chaos of your own. Whereas Tellstones is a two-player battle of wits with big thick tokens in a small metal case. At its heart, it's a memory game, but it's more about trying to make your opponent overconfident as you goad them into a position of boasting that they alone can name all the face-down tokens. But it's your job to try and do whatever it takes to make them forget. I had wrote down a large list of diversions and distraction techniques, but then I did think against it because it would just be one long censoring bleep noise. It's out now, but it's currently only available in the Riot Games merch store for 30 of your finest American dollars. I love penguins, and it's come up from time to time. They're fierce and mighty, honourable beasts of the frozen lands, and also they're clumsy, which I like, and they waddle, which I'm a big fan of. I love penguins, they're my favourite animal, leave me alone. So when I saw that Neko Harbour is on Kickstarter right now from the Wood Games, I was very excited. I'm already a big fan of Wood Games, with games like Festival of 1,000 Cats and most notably A Pleasant Journey to Neko, which is an amazing game and I'm a big fan of. Neko Harbour is a card game follow-up to A Pleasant Journey to Neko, and in it you finally made it to Neko Harbour, but now you're planning to travel round the Antarctic Peninsula. Why? Well, isn't it obvious? It's to see as many penguins as possible. It's a strategy engine builder for 2 to 4 players. Features a lot of card drafting and tableau building and trying your best to navigate your boats so you can see penguins, because I kid you not, the player with the most penguin points is the winner at the end of the game. I love its big box predecessor, and if it sounds good, you can back it on Kickstarter right now. Arkham Horror, the often undead card game of investigation and tentacles, as well as weird things crawling around in the dark like some type of terrible, nightmarish eel, is expanding once more. But that's what we love about it, and now it's a bit more adorable with a new scenario pack, Barkham Horror, the meddling of Meowlith. And while this whole cuddly caper started off as an April Fool's article, they went ahead and made it, because of course they did. Barkham Horror is an expansion pack to the core Arkham Horror card game, and the official article has a lot of puns in it, which I enjoyed. Catspiracy is afoot, and apparently all the dogs around Barkham have been seeing mysterious unnatural cats unleashed about town. 10 out of 10 for marketing. It looks like a lot of tongue-in-cheek fun in a well-established and fully fledged expansion scenario for the game. I'm 100% behind it and I want it, so I'm going to try and buy it because it's out now. There's so many games being announced that rounding them all up would take only the most mutant of sheepdogs and a pen made out of mithril forged by dwarves of some kind, possibly magical. So here are some quickfire games for your eyeballs. Kyoto from Pegasus Spiel is slated for Q4, and his tagline does a lot of the talking. Money makes the world go down. Players take on the role of delegates from countries around the world as they come together convening to tackle climate change. Only problem is, of course, that countries really have their own interests at heart, their own wealth, and more importantly, their own secret agendas. While each round, as targets aren't hit, the planet itself is the one that suffers the consequences. But at the end of this game of hand management, negotiation and bribery, it's the player who looks after themselves the best that ultimately wins. Furnace, on the other hand, was announced by Hobby World and is slated for next year, and in stark contrast to Kyoto, this engine builder has you literally building a 19th century industrial engine as players take on the role of corporations trying to make the most money by extracting resources from the earth and processing them the best way that they can. What made me really excited for this one specifically is that it's designed by Ivan Lashin, who designed last year's incredible smartphone ink. Mysterium Park, which to me sounds like the kind of spooky place I think was a really good place to go on a picnic for a date, to then be proven wrong, is actually a sequel to Mysterium, coming according to Lieberland in time for Halloween. It's a 2 to 6 player game set in the 1950s, in a theme park which re-implements the original Mysterium game but in a smaller and faster to play as well as quicker set up with simplified rule set. But what's most important, to me at least, is that it looks a whole bunch spookier, which I'm definitely into. And Shadows of Brimstone is being reborn with 2 new revised core sets, Brimstone City of Ancients and Shadows of Brimstone Swamps of Death, which both sound just lovely. Flying Frog Productions say that this classic Old West dungeon crawl will be out by the end of September, and that the new core sets include all the corrections and errata that have been added over the years to the core game, as well as new minis, new cards, and it's all backwards compatible with the previously released material. In convention news, which isn't something you hear a lot nowadays, and I mean a convention, a real honest-to-goodness convention, in the real world, really. Aircon, the second biggest convention in the UK and the biggest convention in the world, probably, last year, which also wasn't that difficult to achieve, I don't think. It's announced new dates for next year. There's a lot to think about when it comes to large indoor gatherings, and Aircon are fully aware of that, stating that they really only will know if the April 16th to 18th convention will be happening at all around mid-February. It hinges on a lot of factors, health and safety of course being the main one. But refundable tickets go on sale on November 1st. And honestly, for me, this news just kind of fills me with a little bit of hope for the future. Founder and organiser Mark Cook had this to say.
La 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 la. How did you get in here?
It's called investigative journalism. It's not always glamorous and beautiful, alright? Hey, if you've got any news that you want featured on Cult of the News, please send it in for consideration to news@watchitplayed.tv. Keep it PG. High Rise by Formal Ferret Games is coming back to Kickstarter on October 6th. High Rise is a strategic city building game with the added ingredient of corruption. The tastiest ingredient, other than other people's salty sadness, when you've got the highest building in all the land. The game allows you to get ahead by being corrupt, but you don't want to be the most corrupt, as you'll be periodically penalised for being the worst person sat at the table, just like in real life. A successful Kickstarter raised $50,000 last year, but this time it's back, and this time it's also got an expansion. Formal Ferret has had some great projects, including the Rival Networks, which is a game I absolutely loved. So if that sounds interesting to you, go and check it out. In what I'm calling weird wildcard news, Klaus Turber is releasing a memoir, which, while sounding salacious and tantalising, is also called My Journey to Catan. But who knows, maybe he had some, wild years abroad. There's no way to know without reading the book. It's out in November from Aconite Books, and there's also going to be, because it's board games, a limited edition signed version of the book available. But the book really is the story of his life and how he undeniably changed the world in a way that I'm very thankful for. And that's it. Well, other than this. Probably something going on there, I bet. Pretty tantalising. But at the time of writing this, it's still just an ominously ticking clock, so...
Best thing about Hero Quest is the broadsword. Wait, broadsword? 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 Oh, so that ominous ticking clock ticked its last talk, and now we know that Hero Quest is coming back, as long as you live in North America. The new campaign has been launched, and it's on Hasbro's very own fundraising platform, Pulse. The funding bar is high at $1 million, and so far it seems as though the campaign is a pretty straightforward reprint of the grailiest of Grail games. Of course, all the classic cardboard bits are now plastic, and there's a bunch of new bonus minis and heroes. Okay, gotta go. Help me, Broadsword. You're my only hope.
And that's it for the news. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Matthew Jude, here on Watch It Played. And until next time, take care.